Hi, it's Romy Taurus. Welcome to my channel. This is your June 2021 soul story. If you are sun rising or your moon is in Taurus, then maybe this general reading will give you a little bit of a heads up in navigating some of these astrological events and energy influences over the coming weeks. And June is certainly a busy month, and we open up your reading with the Knight of Swords, which is no surprise because we have a dominance of Gemini air energy, and there's a rapid, urgent, kind of dizzying pace at which information is being delivered to you. And I think you are supposed to make sense of that information, and yet I have this feeling that you're almost somehow blindfolded or not in a position where you're in full receipt of the facts to enable you to make the right choices and decisions, or to figure out how you feel about a certain person, an experience, or something that's going on around you. Now, we open up the month with Venus moving into the sign of Cancer. Of course, Venus, your natural ruler, and this is second house energy in Gemini season for you. So we are determining things from a place of renewed understanding about our value, and how we want to be seen, and what we believe we're worth. And so there's like an interesting kind of digging, unearthing process that's taking place that requires you to be asking yourself some of those more poignant questions. It's a very honest evaluation, and in that energy, when we are then coming up against what this Knight of Swords is representing, whether it is a person returning or information that's making its way to you, certainly they are coming in on this messenger vibe. There's an opportunity here to clear, like, what I want to say is almost like an energetic debt that has felt in some aspects like too heavy to hold, because I think you've come to quite a clear recognition. She's flying in on a feather here, and there's something about you wanting a situation to feel lighter, and then knowing what you need to do, what you have to do, but still they're feeling like this sense of having to wait. Of course, we are in Mercury retrograde. Right through until the 22nd of the month. We also have Saturn and Pluto retrograde, and then Jupiter's going to join the party on the 20th, and then Neptune takes a backspin on the 25th. So what does that do? It slows everything down. And so even though information might be making its way and there's sudden changes and shifts and moves that are happening because we're still in that eclipse season, your ability to be able to perhaps participate actively or make an effective change, even if you know what you want, might be impeded just slightly. So we have to be aware of where there might be a little bit of rising frustration on that level. And certainly as that new moon solar eclipse comes in on the 10th of the month, there is sort of a revelationary quality to that that's inviting us not to force anything, but rather to turn our attention to where we want to, I think, make some progress within our own sense of self, our mastery. And it's kind of like the beauty of the chaos that might surround you, and whatever this is bringing to your door by way of the Knight of Swords is almost like acting as a catalyst for you to say, well, this is actually where I want to put my time, energy, and attention. And it's a time where we really want to be rebalancing things. If you can look at anything that's unfolding for you in the month of June, Taurus, and you can understand that it's coming by way of helping you to advance yourself, so that you can, it's like setting yourself free of something. Setting yourself free of something. I also think it's going to birth within you the desire for more. But that more won't come from other people. It's going to be an innate understanding and alignment with what is basically your own inner wealth. And so as she takes her time to craft and hone and understand this process of change, that's being highlighted here with the butterflies and the card, there is this requirement for self-growth, for self-introspection. And of course, that's how we can really take advantage of what these retrograde seasons are helping us with. And so even as this comes towards you, Interestingly, that the Knight of Swords is actually holding the paintbrush, and then you take the paintbrush and you're now applying it. So like we said, you can use whatever is coming about, even if it's not necessarily coming in on the easiest or, you know, the most positive way, but it's going to be a different experience for everybody. Now, what we want is you to have flexibility through the course of this month, because things can change really quickly, but that doesn't mean that you're supposed to perform or you're supposed to pretend. It's still got to feel authentic, but it just needs you to be able to be open and also to stay the course. I think there's something important that Eight of Pentacles guide wants to bring in for you this month that says we can soften and surrender into what might feel like wild change and intense energy and still believe in the best of the situation. And that's where we kind of get to witness some of the miracles that can kind of come from things, you know. Now, on the 14th, we're going to invite the second of Saturn squaring Uranus. Saturn now retrograde in Aquarius, and Uranus, of course, traveling through your sign. So think back to February 17th. We are revisiting the theme, or it's the next part in the story. Now, maybe you're a little bit less blindsided than you were at the beginning of the year, so you might have a good indication, even sort of building up to that energy. Of course, the square means that there's some pressure applied, and pressure that does undoubtedly feel uncomfortable. I mean, we know what Uranus moving through your sign is doing for you on a deeply spiritual, revolutionary regard, and yet you've got the Magician coming in here. So there's this amazing capacity for you to be able to hold the challenge, hold space for what is coming, and actually be able to adapt, shapeshift, alchemize, and make the best of it and turn it into something that's going to be innately valuable for you. And I think the growth that comes from that is kind of life-changing for you, actually, because there's just something about changing the dialogue with yourself and perhaps, you know, with other people. So what you would always have done, how you would normally respond, you choose to do differently now. And, you know, that's not for the sake of anybody else. That's just for your own peace of mind. But, you know, definitely these provocative, sort of controversial squares can come in, and sometimes that sort of sleight of hand, magician-like energy, perhaps also indicated by, you know, someone or something that just isn't being clear or upfront, or maybe it's information, like we said, you're still waiting for, or something that you do get, but we need to really check the fine print of something. And you look like you're kind of lost in other things right now with your Eight of Pentacles, and so you'd be forgiven for kind of almost overlooking it initially, but it will come back around, and there will be a moment through the course of June where you're going to have to deal with anything that kind of like missed your observation first time round. Doesn't have to be a negative, it just means that there is something that I feel needs to be sorted out so that you can properly free yourself and move forward from it. Now, by way of relationships, this might be that people are kind of showing you lots of different types of energy, wearing different hats, portraying themselves in new ways that you hadn't anticipated or expected, or it might well be you kind of feeling like you need to express yourself, coming out of your solar returns with a whole new vibe and a whole new frequency. So there's a kind of feeling in energy that Venus in Cancer is going to help you with through the course of this month, and I think that'd be quite interesting for many of you to see how that advances or progresses or actually calls time on some of the connections and relationships in your life. Of course, eclipses bring in this powerful moment where there is closure, there is a wrapping up, and the Gemini Sagittarius eclipse season will come to a close on the 10th, although the rippling effects of that might still be felt for a while. And that conversation taking place between the higher mind and the lower mind as you're raising your own level of consciousness, your own divinity, there's such an opportunity for you to really observe that ego talk and actually start to find a way to dissipate it and move above and beyond it for yourself, So there's an amazing capacity for emotional and spiritual growth for you through the course of this month. And the way that you're communicating to people is also in this kind of like very narrow lens of just like really wanting to get the details right. So regardless of where there is confusion or haze, I have this vibe that Taurus knows what they want and they're staying true to that. Although, like we said, a requirement for a little bit of flexibility, but at the same time, like not losing yourself in what anyone else's confusion is trying to project onto you is going to be really, really important. I think there's this aspect of you needing to investigate something, needing to know more before you're prepared to say, I'm all in, or I'm ready to do this. So whether it's somebody offering you something, wanting to come into commitment with you, wanting to form something more legal, or there's like some sort of agreement. I just have like papers and written things like coming in here. I think you just need a bit more time, and don't be afraid to ask for it in some aspects. I also don't want you to dilute what is uniquely yours, you know. I think collaboration and connection and community is a wonderful aspect of being in Gemini season, but not if it's going to detract away from some of the hopes, ideas, ambitions, and unique inspiration that is yours, and that you're still, particularly if you're still very early on in the process of that, you know, you want to kind of anchor in a little bit more energetically, and you want to just get it perhaps to the next stage before you're ready to sort of bring in too many outside energies. At the same time, I think there's some interesting inspiration that you can derive, and perhaps one or two ideas that might spark something in you that's going to be quite exciting. So we have the energy of the Tower coming in. It's not really a surprise as we kind of move through eclipse season, but also we hit that second square for you. I mean, I think May brought an awful lot of intensity for Taurus, you know, and you're probably still kind of trying to rebalance yourself a little bit in terms of what that delivered. You know, for some of you, it might have just been that absolute moment, that epiphany, that wake-up call that said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be here. This isn't working for me. Or even the acknowledgement of how small you've played in a certain aspect, and now you are ready to kind of tap into a new potential to level up in a big way. But regardless, I think that what it brought about was just a feeling momentarily of really being out of control, which is never easy for your sign when you're liking to earth in and kind of feel rooted and safe in the places that you find yourself in and the choices and decisions that you're making. But the Tower continues to kind of rip through everybody's life right now. You know, this is an energy that we're all very acquainted with at the moment, and 2021 is not an easy year. That said, it can also be extraordinarily progressive, because inherently the Tower is about taking something down that is no longer serving. You know, these foundations have to shift, they have to move, and they have perhaps felt unbreakable, they have felt immovable. And on the positive, this is going to actually be you breaking through your own limitation, especially when we have it, you know, beneath the Eight of Pentacles and with the Page of Wands, because there's this openness, this readiness for self-mastery to apply and dedicate yourself to profound revolutionary change in your life. And that can feel really chaotic on an emotional level. And I have a sense that honestly the Tower is coming in much more on the emotional front for many of you through the course of June, rather than seeing these big major events. I mean, some of you I think have probably already experienced that. But the emotions, yes, for sure, just feeling in a state of churn at moments through the course of this month. But what we're set to see as we make our way a little bit more toward mid-month and the sun moves into Cancer is this opening up by way of communication, being able to tell people how you feel, understanding where they stand. Mercury moves direct on the 22nd. Then we approach the solstice energy on the 21st. Now, solstice, this midpoint of the year, an opportunity for us to really take stock, yeah? And in the Northern Hemisphere, the longest day of the year, the Southern Hemisphere, the shortest, and having that opportunity to kind of rebalance something. And from the Tower, we step into the energy of the Hierophant, the wisdom. And of course, this links into the energy of your sign, Taurus. And so you are learning something powerful from this experience, you know, and even if it is feeling really upheavaled for you, I think you're going to take something from this, like I said, that you know, it is set to be quite life-changing. Now, there's a lot of study that's coming forth in your reading here, so there may be courses, there may be things that you want to advance or upskill yourself in, and even if you don't get the chance or opportunity to actually put that into motion in June, I think you're going to be seeing really clearly the directions and where you want to head, where you want to move towards. Commitment is coming through powerfully, and I think you'll be questioning loyalty and commitment, what it means for you, who around you you're cherishing, who who is part of that inner circle for you. Maybe there's some changes that might be afoot, and particularly where you have the energy of this Knight of Swords coming back in, or information making its way towards you, maybe asking you for commitment, seeking agreement, or important conversations nonetheless that I feel have to take place before we can move forward, Now, the full moon in Capricorn on the 24th, a fellow earth sign, is going to be really beneficial for you. There's something innately tangible and real about what gets discussed and what gets understood and what gets revealed and highlighted around that time. Of course, we're going to be seeing things come to fruition and manifestation that we, intended and were working on at that new moon in Capricorn much earlier this year. And so it's an opportunity for you to kind of catch your breath and steady yourself a little bit, especially if you've been feeling a little bit more emotionally uncertain in regards to certain things. I think you're setting your sights higher and you are wanting more for yourself, and so you should, There is this sense of like knowing what you're now capable of. I think you've been shown something about yourself in the last few weeks, Taurus, and perhaps it's come through, more challenging experiences. And certainly as you hit that solar returns, it's always such a powerful time to reflect, isn't it, on what you've achieved and where you're at. And at this midpoint in the year, I think there's some kind of like bold move that we want to make that's going to help to initiate the opportunity to have more of the good stuff, like more of the things that you really enjoy doing, the people you enjoy being around, like what nourishes you, what sustains you. And especially in Gemini energy, like when we're looking at that second house and we're trying to think about, what we surround ourselves in, the possessions that we have, the material things that make us, feel at home, like that make us feel at peace. But I think there are kind of changing aspects to that. You might just be seeking, something a little bit more simplistic. You might be looking for things that just feel they can nourish you in a different sort of way. You might have wild change in terms of like what you want to spend your money on or how you want to spend it. I feel like this Nine of Cups is indicating to you that something that you've been hoping for, wishing for, longing for is set to come through, but it does require just that little bit more of your commitment, of your energy, like invested into it. This is why I'm getting this like stay the course, keep going, like you can just taste this. It's almost here. It's like right on the horizon, and it's just like don't give up now kind of an energy is coming through really, really nicely for me. The only thing I'll say about this particular female, she kind of looks a little bit buttoned up. Nine of Cups is usually about this beautiful sense of indulgence and pleasure and desire, but I'm wondering if she's actually enjoying it. I'm wondering if she's got what she wanted or she can see what she was longing for, and then when it's arrived, it's like, oh, why do I still feel a little bit like unfulfilled, or that there's maybe a bit of a void here? And so there may be this situation, especially where it involves people, Taurus, where you've been kind of longing or hoping for something, and then maybe that deliverance comes. Maybe you get the message you're longing for, the conversation is discussed, or somebody shows up in a way you wanted them to, and then you're kind of left feeling a little bit meh. There's not really the high that you were anticipating, and that's okay. It's just a direct invitation to say it wasn't ever really what you were searching for in the first instance, because you are searching right now. And I think June's going to deliver a lot of answers for you. When Neptune goes retrograde on the 25th in the sign of Pisces, what happens? We kind of take the rose tinted glasses off, don't we? And all of the illusion, the fantasy, the delusion of sort of hoping, wanting, craving, expecting, kind of losing ourselves in things, kind of hits this sobering, like cold hard reality check. And yes, sometimes that can be harsh, but it can also be extremely like a breath of fresh air. It can just kind of like set us free from something. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. That was never going to happen. All right, so now I know where I stand. Now I know what I've got to do. Now I know where I want to invest my energy. And from that place is this amazing capacity for you to kind of like redirect and like just, it's like new plans forming, yeah? And quickly, actually. Your Seven of Cups suggests to me there are so many choices that are coming in, a dizzying amount of choices actually, that even though you've been asking for it in some instance, might feel a little bit overwhelming when it arrives. lives, it's important to take the time that you need to kind of step back and sort of just observe what they all have to offer, whether this be people or job opportunities or different directions, you know, if it's homes, or it doesn't matter. But I feel like there's more than one option on the table, and we have to really evaluate them from perhaps a slightly different process than you would ordinarily. So of course we need to do the checks and balances, and we need to make sure on a practical level something's going to work for us. But there's something about the energy that is unseen that we need to tap into here, that's going to tell us a whole different story about what some of these options represent. And your body's going to tell you, Taurus, your body's going to tell you how you feel about each and every one of these. You know, let it respond to you in a way that is not giving you any lies, you know, that will just be the clear indicator of what's lighting you up and where you feel charged and that spark. Now, your Two of Swords suggests here the choice isn't so easy, but yet you need time. You're kind of almost giving yourself that moment to step back and observe and go inwards into that intuitive self. And of course, retrograde season is going to be supportive of you doing that. Now, when we have that solstice energy, on the same day, Venus trines Neptune. Just after that, we have the Sun trining Jupiter on the 23rd. These are some really sweet energies to be working with if you're trying to make the right decisions in order to rebalance and center yourself. And, you know, being in the right environment, connecting with the right people, asking the right questions of yourself, it can be so progressive. So I have this beautiful sense of like silver linings and, you know, getting nice, like warm energy coming through that feels very supportive. So if you're looking for the signs and the validations and you're sort of, you know, trying to figure something out at that point, I feel like you're going to get your answers, and it's going to come in a really nice way where you feel like you can receive it. There's something about your receptivity this month that's kind of different, you know. Maybe there's just been a leveling or a sense of humility that's come in an area that you needed it to. Maybe you had never had the opportunity to understand something prior to this point, and now you're seeing it in a new light. You're walking in a different person's shoes, you're walking a new path, and from that place, you know, it doesn't mean that you have to kind of completely change who you are or what you want, but it allows you this opportunity to just have like more context in relation to something. And what that can do is bring about a level of tolerance and compassion and understanding that's going to be really beneficial to help you move forward. Now, maybe to move on, but definitely just to move forward from a situation and an energy that might felt a little bit stagnant. I have an awful lot of growth coming in for you, and that hits the bank balance, that hits where you want to see it by way of meaningful change in relationships. But of course, you know, we can't kind of ignore the elephant in the room. Something in and around this tower means that something's got to give, something's got to change, but that's okay. You're not going to feel that sense of wildly out of control for long, because I feel a steadying of your nerves. I feel like a new emotional stability coming in, and I have this sense that you are getting clarity and guidance coming through from your higher mind, your higher self, that's really going to be illuminating. So your oracle card coming in is deep diver, diving into a task. I mean, it's very similar to your Eight of Pentacles, isn't it? Even your Page of Wands with a kind of Sherlock Holmes vibe here. It's like, let's get in and, you know, really dig deep. Let's kind of move into this opportunity to kind of dig for the treasure and understand what lies beneath. And what you're going to discover about yourself is perhaps where there are things that you've plastered over the cracks that now want to be dealt with, just so that you can get a really strong foundation in place and, you know, release some limitation or block around it. And I think for many of you, that's going to be so advantageous in how you give yourself permission from a value perspective to go for more, you know, to ask for more, to expect more, to receive more. Everything is about like balancing up this energy exchange for you. Of course, deep diving from a very emotional perspective with all of this water, and she looks like she's a mermaid here. So you've got that Piscean energy of Jupiter going retrograde and Neptune retrograde in Pisces. So this water energy for you is at times overwhelming and can kind of flood your senses. But as long as you find ways to ground into the intention of what it's about, you're good. Do you know what I mean? If you know why you're doing it, then you're okay to sort of lose yourself momentarily. If you don't, then you start to get that level of frustration and sort of almost panic of like, where am I going? You know, what is this leading to? What's going on here? So you just get really clear. And even if other people are not, from an energy perspective, showing or delivering what you need them to through the course of this month, doesn't mean that they can't. It just means that right now they've got something going on that is precluding them from doing that. But what we are saying is that don't let that be the reason, again, that you lose yourself or you get the wind knocked out of your sail. Okay, we have Standing Stones passage. I mean, this is beautiful as we welcome in the solstice energy and we think about the rituals that we want to carry out at this really beautiful time of the year. And, you know, it's there's something so innately expansive. And the fact that she's wearing this red dress, it's like there's deep passion here. There's a deep kind of invocation to want to open up the heart space and really allow this rite of passage to kind of fully realize itself. And so you are going to be drawn, you are going to be pulled to doing certain things in certain ways or to exploring or understanding things differently. And I think this rich color, this galaxy that's kind of exploding here of not only ancient wisdom, but also how that applies to the energies as they move and shift and change in the here and now is going to be really cathartic for you, really progressive by way of you just tapping into this higher level of consciousness, you know. Her back is exposed here, suggesting there is an aspect of vulnerability, but we can also see the strength here. It's like she's showing her backbone. She's showing that I've got this, I'm ready for this, bare feet here, I'm connected, I'm rooted. It's just a beautiful energy as she places her hand on this standing stone, just feeling the pulse and the energy of what is contained in this really sacred land. And so finding places that are sacred to you is going to be very important in balancing you out if you start to feel overwhelmed in any way through the course of June. So let's take a look at your astrology cards, Taurus. Okay, we have the energy of Aries, independence, bravery, and passion. Of course, Aries is in that 12th house of release. So there's something about the surrendering into your bravery, surrendering into what you're passionate about, surrendering into what you want, knowing why you want it, and allowing it. It's like the receiving aspect of this. You know, we're not meant to fight in that 12th house. We're meant to just let go. And even these eclipse energies, even what Saturn squaring Uranus is teaching us is that there has to be a release. There has to be a release so that the pressure is dissipated and the energy shifts and moves. It's like the heart has to shatter so that it can expand to hold even more love, even more abundance, even more understanding. Your inner wealth is what is really underpinning this narrative, this dialogue with your own sense of self-respect and value through the course of this month. And it's going to require from you to make new plans for yourself based on who you understand you now are and what that means about what you're going to accept, what you're capable of. And I think that's a really exciting thing to be addressing through this month of June, even if at times it feels like it's kind of difficult to ground your energy. I see it as really progressive for you. So this is just a general reading for June, Taurus. If you'd like to join me for the extended, I'm going to go ahead and pull some clarifying cards. You can find the link for this reading in the description and the comment section underneath. And I would invite you just to think about a question I might not have answered in the main spread. We'll pull a couple of energy guide cards for you for that. Let's see what comes up. Okay, so just clarifying this main reading, starting with the Knight of Swords. Okay, flipping cards here. 5 of Wands, Temperance, another 8 of Pentacles coming in here. There is work to do, but it does yield results. of Wands energy coming in there. It's maybe a fire sign, a Leo, Sagittarius or Aries that we might be also connecting to or dealing with. We've got the Six of Pentacles and another Tower coming in here. Okay. 4 Cups. This is where we're showing these new plans coming in. Okay, you've got Queen of Swords coming up. Maybe an air sign, Gemini, Libra or Aquarius. Or certainly someone that you are involved with or dealing with by way of this Tower energy. Knight of Wands. We'll get to the bottom of these characters in the extended. Okay, we've got the Page of Pentacles coming in. 10 of Cups. Nice. Family cards coming through here for you, Taurus. Magician again. When we get a lot of these repeated cards coming through, it's just really strengthening the message for you. Chariot, I love that for you. The old Seven of Pentacles been coming up in all the readings this month. I think just as we take stock at this midpoint of the year, it's meant to be a real opportunity to kind of evaluate and review. And the Empress, lovely. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. If you want to join me for the extended, I look forward to continuing this conversation with you. Otherwise, thank you so much. I wish you beautiful blessings for June. Let me know how this reading lands for you over the next few weeks. Take good care. Bye for now, Taurus.